You ready to chat about SmackDown? There's a lot to digest and discuss.
Let's do it.
So we had the Money in the Bank set for this edition of SmackDown from San Diego, California, the Valley View Casino Center. Daniel Bryan came out to start the show and plugged the ladder match for tonight and got interrupted by Carmella and James Ellsworth and called this the land of injustice. And then I almost felt like the wrong SmackDown aired because this was verbatim the promo of last week from Carmella. She talked about being stripped unjustly. There are no rules for Money in the Bank. It's the first one to gain possession. Weren't there other people that have interfered in Money in the Bank matches? And that didn't affect Seth Rollins or Sheamus. Like, this was way too similar to last week's promo. Like, even her example she's citing.
I'm guessing she was just told to come out here and restate.
Play the hits.
Restate your case. Yeah.
I guess so. Restate the briefcase. And said that she did nothing wrong. But Bryan says there is no disqualifications in a Money in the Bank match. And there has been interference in the past, but never has someone climbed the ladder and grabbed the contract and handed it to someone. So everyone understands where we are at today.
Yeah, I found Carmella actually, she's very convincing in her, I guess, passion for in her explanation. But I found Bryan to have sound justification as well. So I thought it was a believable conversation and debate between the two.
So Bryan then quizzed the audience of whether he should hand the briefcase back to Carmella or have the second ever women's Money in the Bank match tonight. They were resoundingly chanting yes for the latter. Ellsworth then tells the audience to shut up, and they all start chanting, "Ellsworth sucks." This got very loud. He used to look up to Bryan, but now he doesn't see a man. He sees a gutless, spineless coward that has no grapefruits to cut it in the ring anymore, so he made up an injury.
Awesome.
Ellsworth had his finest moment this week.
Oh my God! I thought this guy. I still
real
think
heat for him.
Yeah,
throughout this show.
I think this guy's great, and I imagine he's the type of character that Vince absolutely loves, and I really enjoy him too. I think he's a lot of fun.
Bryan stares him down, but then laughs it off. Says tonight isn't about him. I thought he was going to completely just redo last week and announce he's banned from ringside, but he did bring up talking smack and said instead of being banned from ringside, you are banned from the arena, as security came, removed him, and wished Carmella good luck to end the segment. Other than some of the repeat material, still strong promos from all involved here, in particular Carmella and Ellsworth, and a hot crowd. That really enhanced this.
Really hot crowd. I thought Ellsworth was great. I didn't even mind the repeat material all that much. It really was just to set up the Ellsworth being thrown out and all that. I feel like they're really starting to tease some physicality with Bryan here, at least with Ellsworth, really trying to rile him up.
I wonder what the line is. Like, would they not even allow him to punch a guy?
He could throw a yes lock on, I'm sure.
Because he's done nothing. Has he done anything since?
Nothing. Hasn't touched, hasn't gotten hit, stayed away from everybody.
The Usos took on the Haight Bros in a non-title match. Mojo clipped the knee of Jimmy, and then Jay was tagged in, and Mojo's no-selling the chops from Jay. Ryder comes in, and Mojo back body drops him onto both Usos on the floor as we go to break. And given that we are watching the Sportsnet version, we don't get to watch the match during the break with the picture-in-picture with the ads, which I'm assuming this is what happened for the USA Network version, because we came back from break as Ryder took a super kick and Jimmy hit a splash, and the match ended. Yeah, seconds back from break.
We basically came back with the finish. We saw none of the match, none of the comeback, nothing.
I can't even really judge this match.
I mean, maybe the thinking was that, we're in picture-in-picture now, so most of the match can take place in the commercials. But I have to imagine that they're also thinking about many of their international markets too, all of which I'm assuming don't get that picture-in-picture thing. So it just felt oddly mistimed to me.
Last week they announced 4 matches for this week's SmackDown, one being a ladder match. On top of you're doing your regular opening segment, you had the whole Orton thing. Like, they had scheduled a lot for this show, that there were probably, like this match, for instance, was something maybe that could have been held off a week, which we both assumed. Haight Bros win, they get the title match and fall. Instead, they lose the non-title match, and they're just dust to the side.
I don't mind it so much because your match is New Day versus the Usos for the pay-per-view, and you don't want to confuse it too much with having the Hype Bros as contenders. So I don't mind this at all. I just feel like there's probably a lot more story to be told within the match itself of the Hype Bros breaking up, of Zack Ryder maybe disappointing Mojo or vice versa.
Which again, I would have done another week because that didn't come through in this at all.
I imagine
there's no story coming out of this, and this negates the whole Battle Royal win as well.
Pretty much, yeah. I guess they'll follow up on it next week.
The New Day comes out in their new shirts and state how the Usos actually won a match without running away in the middle of it, and they say that they want that gold, sucker. And Big E says, "At Battleground, we coming for you." As Xavier cuts him off by saying, "We want you Usos." So what a play off of LaMelo and Booker T.
Yeah. Relevant.
The Usos don't know why they deserve a shot, but they accept the challenge anyway, which was awfully nice of the Usos.
Yeah, they bring up in this promo how they don't deserve a shot, and then without even a rebuttal from the New Day, just say, "All right, we'll grant you what you want. You got us."
What makes it a little awkward is they are doing the identical storyline with Kevin Owens and AJ, where Owens beat AJ by countout at Backlash when his foot was trapped. But now AJ has to jump through all these hoops, including a Battle Royal next week, to get his shot. And in this situation, you have the Usos just shrug their shoulders and say, "Sure, you can have a title shot." And they're doing their identical count-out victories for the heel.
They're not identical, though, because AJ's was, as a babyface on Unwilling, the Usos was an intentional count-out.
It's still a count-out finish. And they felt that, like, the Usos, I mean, they felt here that they didn't deserve... The New Day didn't deserve a rematch because of this. They didn't beat them.
Right.
Anyway. Next week, we also got Kofi Kingston rapping here, which will set up a rap battle for next week. Mm-hmm. And he rhymed Moody with Rudy and Booty.
I don't know if I'm all that excited about this rap battle coming up next week.
Man, I can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for your expert analysis so you can really
Well, you won't
get
it because I won't be here.
Oh, yeah.
You won't
We're going to get Bartender Dave's expert analysis.
Yeah, we're going to get Braden.
We got the Brady.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's actually perfect for that.
Tamina is showing getting ready backstage. This was important because we got a Jimmy Jacobs cameo in the background.
Oh.
Then there was an ad for John Cena returning next Tuesday in Phoenix. The ad read, "Arguably the greatest superstar of all time," and then we returned and JBL again repeated this tagline, which... when it happens in twos like that in the WWE, it's probably a new marketing campaign that now John Cena is arguably the greatest superstar of all time.
We can argue for sure.
I guess so. But you can literally say anything in this world if you put arguably at the beginning of it.
I don't know about that.
It's like the allegedly of, it's the pro version of allegedly.
I mean, you can't say James Ellsworth is arguably the greatest superstar of all time. That doesn't work.
Someone would make that argument. Someone out there.
Someone?
You'd have to see.
Really?
7 billion, but someone will. Then we got a Fashion Vice segment done in like standard definition.
4:3.
Yeah, look at that. Whole different ratio they're playing on. And this episode was called Under Pressure. And we had a shot of the Big Boss Man as they do this interrogation scene with the Ascension. They show them the stick figures from Money in the Bank. Fandango tries to bribe them with Eddie Money tickets. Victor wants the tickets.
Who is Eddie Money? I'm not familiar.
He was this musician from the 70s and 80s who I totally had to look up. I had never heard of him either. The desk also had photos of Rick Martel labeled Model Citizen. And then they get distracted and hear a noise, and their detective area is destroyed. And then we get the reveal, it's all the same set, in the same room, and then Connor and Victor sneak away the Eddie Money tickets off the table.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. I think the Ascension should just be ironic comedy guys. I think they're such like over-the-top
I would argue that they have been that since the moment they came up with those vignettes from NXT.
Yeah, but they never really hit on that.
They haven't played that,
you know?
And that's probably the best role for these two throwback characters to a long gone time.
Yeah, and I don't want them to start playing like, you know, two like 80s Eddie Money fans. I want them to still look like the Ascension, still be as serious as the Ascension, but secretly have a love of, you know, whatever Eddie Money.
Maybe they're going to go to the concert and we'll get to see them.
Sure, why
as
not?
Fans.
Yeah, so it turns out it's not the Ascension. Who else could it be? Who could the Breezango be slated to feud against?
Yeah, so the story in all of this is that at Money in the Bank, the Ascension answered the challenge just because they wanted a match on the pay-per-view, not because they were the assailants that attacked them.
Yeah.
So they're leaving that mystery.
So who is it?
How many teams are there?
American Alpha.
American Alpha.
Yeah.
They explained, though, that they were big guys. Wasn't that the whole thing? And that they looked identical. So you almost have to have twins, right?
Oh, okay.
And I hope it's not the Authors of Pain.
Oh, interesting.
They're kind of tied up.
Yeah.
So
Who else could it be, though? Who else is available? Tag team-wise.
That are twins. Or at least look similar.
The Harris brothers.
I don't think it would be them.
No?
Probably not.
Big guys.
Big guys. You're right.
They're tied up, too, I think.
Naomi and Lana had their match for the SmackDown Women's title. Now, this was funny, okay? Naomi made her full-out entrance. We go to a commercial break.
Yeah.
And then we come back and have Lana's entire entrance, which I found amusing because 2 weeks ago, during the six-man tag, they cut out Shinsuke Nakamura's entrance. And someone complained online, and Road Dogg, who's essentially one of the key people on SmackDown, explained, hey, we have business decisions we have to make, something to that effect, that, you know, we have commercial breaks we have to tend to. And the guy was just like, just admit it was a mistake. And he was like, it wasn't a mistake. And the idea being that, listen, we have to take commercial breaks and we have to cut out entrances. And I just found it funny that here in this situation, they made it a point to get both people's entrances there.
It's completely different show, though. And they might have been running low on time for that show.
That match was like 15 minutes with commercials. And of all the entrances, you cut out Nakamura's.
Sorry, did you say a six-man, though?
It was a six-man tag.
That means there's 6 entrances. How many entrances can somebody sit through?
They showcased, I think, all of them, except for Nakamura.
Okay, but
anyway, all I'm saying is
I don't think you can compare
just admit
those
then
two.
that, like, okay, we decided to cut Nakamura's entrance.
Sure, that's what he did.
That's what they did.
But it wasn't a mistake.
Well,
very intentional.
He was stating, well, we had to take the commercial break. Of all the entrances, though, in that match,
right?
Would Nakamura be the one that you would isolate?
No, that's true.
That was the point.
Maybe it's also the one that took the longest, though.
Well, that's fine.
But also keep in mind, like, the idea of when you're going to commercial is that you want to leave a cliffhanger, you know, for audiences to want to come back. A Dolph Ziggler entrance that leads to commercial isn't exactly more enticing than a Nakamura entrance.
What if they had teased Lana's entrance and then gone to break?
They could do that. Sure.
And anyway, Naomi is introduced, holds up her title, and Lana attacks her from behind before the bell rings, but Naomi wants to continue to fight through. Lana hits her sit-out powerbomb with the arm behind the back, but Naomi kicks out, which I thought was actually a good near fall. And Naomi then hits a head kick and a split-legged moonsault and wins in 41 seconds.
Squash.
Yeah.
Didn't need to be much more.
I would say this was significantly better than the pay-per-view.
I agree with you, because
there was more in that near fall for Lana than she got out of that entire pay-per-view match.
I mean, they say Lana's been working really hard in ring. I have no doubt about that. She has some ability, but I think she's still not nearly enough to be a convincing singles star. She's not even as good as Carmella. So, I wonder what the future holds. I do think, though, they might do another rematch for this, because if you saw on Twitter, Lana even reposted it, her shoulder was kind of up in the finish of this pinfall, so they might go to one more match, similar to what they did with Alicia and Sasha. I don't think it was intentional.
So they're going to beat her, and then she'll win the title.
Alicia hasn't won the title. But, she did. Did she win that feud? No, she lost it. Yeah, she lost it.
Dasha is with Becky Lynch backstage. She said she was inches away from grabbing the briefcase, but James Ellsworth ripped it away. Is happy Ellsworth is banned tonight, and all she needs is a fair chance to win. Then Aiden English was introduced in the ring as the operatic voice and starts singing. He is the Shakespeare of song, the Mozart of melody, and the Beethoven of baritone, and is interrupted by Randy Orton. And we go to break, and there was... Did you watch this WWE Supercard ad featuring Kevin Owens, who was the star of Tuesday night programming?
No, I agree with you. Yeah.
We come back from break, and Orton's just sitting in a chair. And thankfully, they did show us what happened in the break. He RKO'd English. I thought we were going to get a quick match. I thought they were going to duplicate Seth Rollins, Kurt Hawkins on SmackDown here, but English didn't even get a match. He just got an RKO, and he was gone. So Orton is there. He isn't leaving until he gets what he wants. They recap his attack on Jinder and the Singh brothers last week and wants another title match because if not, he's going to beat the holy hell out of Jinder Mahal. He's going to do it tonight. He's going to do it later tonight. He's going to do it at the airport tomorrow. He's going to come next week. He's going to do it. He is going to force Jinder Mahal to get an emergency protection order, as some in wrestling have sought out when it comes to threats. And the best part of this was when he was saying that he will show up next week in whatever beautiful city in America we are in, clearly having no idea where they are, because JBL piped in, we're in Phoenix next week. Like, that was clearly administered in the headset. And then Shane McMahon comes out, got a good reaction, and he mentions their history here, which I had forgotten. I had put out of my mind after our big, extensive 2009 reviews this year. And says you can't have Randy just beating up Jinder Mahal. And Orton says, what, am I going to be fired? Because I'll buy a ticket every week. I'm fine going to jail. And he was disrespected in front of his family. Jinder crossed the line. And Shane, who has like the most credibility now, says, he did cross the line, but you've also used those tactics. And I know what it's like for someone to put their hands on a family member. As everyone remembers Randy punting Vince in the head, which is not a tenth of what the Singh brothers and Jinder did to Bob Orton. This guy kicked Vince in the head.
Oh, yeah. He also did some stuff to Stephanie, or at least threatened to do a bunch of stuff to Stephanie.
Oh,
yeah.
I really enjoyed Shane just like totally reversing this on Randy.
Right.
And it was like, there was almost no comeback for Randy, like when it's Shane McMahon that's delivering this message to him. So Shane says you will get your rematch at Battleground. So other than AJ, rematch is not that hard to come by. And Jinder Mahal, though, gets to choose the stipulation, as Orton says he doesn't care what it is. So Jinder and the Singhs come out. Jinder says that Shane supports a snake like Randy Orton. He doesn't deserve a rematch. The crowd starts chanting USA, and he's just dumbfounded. He's like, this is the prejudice I'm talking about. And Jinder is going to choose the match created by a giant among men, not a giant like John Studd, and a former world champion. His hero, the Great Khali. He's choosing the Punjabi Prison match, and the place just pops.
Yeah.
And boom, the production team was ready with Punjabi Prison B-roll.
Immediate.
A decade since they have held one of these. Not a well-remembered stipulation, but it's like so campy that people are totally stoked by the idea of this monstrosity returning.
Not at all, I think, a match that inspires any type of high star rating, but perfect for this feud. And really, I can't think of another scenario where you would break out that bamboo and to create that Punjabi Prison, other than for a character like Jinder Mahal, who, you know, I think it's a perfectly acceptable time. It is what, their third match now?
Yes.
It's a perfectly acceptable time to bring this out. And really, it ends
in
up...
Philadelphia, by the way, if that matters. Like, typically harsher crowd.
Oh, okay. They'll love this though, because like you said, like I think people recognize the camp value of something like this, and you know,
I hope there's an ECW chant during like some awful sequence in this.
Well, the thing is like the Punjabi Prison really is a glorified cage, is it not?
It's a double cage.
Double cage that looks, you know, I guess more Punjabi themed, whatever that means. So it's got some name value. I think it's a good gimmick to do for a B show. I'm all for it.
Now, to me, the bigger takeaway was the fact that this was totally credited as the Great Khali's creation.
Yeah.
He was named. He's got the storyline connection to Jinder Mahal. He didn't mention his brother-in-law here, which that is the storyline connection between those two. But after last week, I think we're closing in on the potential of that Randy Orton RKO to Great Khali.
Wow. Okay.
Do you think his name was just thrown out here because of the link to the gimmick?
I think because Khali is known for the match, and also because Khali is still greatly, I guess, beloved in India from all accounts. So Jinder doing this, for one thing, it kind of gets him heat for a North American audience, but it also endears him to that Indian fan base as well, that much more.
Beyond the Orton RKO to Great Khali, which people did send me clips that he has RKO'd him in the past. The visual I want to see more than anything is Great Khali standing next to the Singh brothers. That's the visual of all visuals.
Oh, that would be awesome.
That would be tremendous.
I wonder if the two of them stacked on top of each other would even reach him.
So, yep, that's our main event for Battleground. And Brian is on the phone, noting there has not been a Punjabi Prison match in 10 years.
I love the idea that, like, the Great Khali is sort of like Ric Flair in India. You know how, like, or Eddie Guerrero, people will bring up, like, names of, like, legends like that. It just kind of offhandedly, but here Jinder would do the same for Khali. It's great.
AJ is there, and then Owens walks in, and they're explaining how open challenges work to Kevin Owens, that it's got to be open to everyone, hence the word open. And Owens is saying, no, it's only open to people I haven't beaten yet. And Styles was beaten at Backlash and therefore a loser. AJ calls Kevin Owens Ron Burgundy's definition of San Diego, which is a whale's vagina. And Owens has no idea what he's talking about. Brian explains John Cena's version of the open challenge, and then Brian announces next week there will be an Independence Day Battle Royal. The winner will get a United States title shot, and Styles will be in the Battle Royal, and Owens calls this the worst idea ever. So we've got Cena's return and a big Battle Royal on next week's show, which will probably get hit significantly being on the 4th of July. Then Tom Phillips throws to an exclusive first look at WWE 2K18. There was nothing exclusive or first about this look. This is just a trailer that we have seen. Mike and Maria Kanellis come out. She announces herself as the First Lady of SmackDown, and then Mike says, "And I'm Maria's husband, Mike Kanellis." And they're interrupted by Sami Zayn's entrance. And that was it. I thought for sure they were coming back to cost Sami the match, but...
Me too.
Nope.
These two just kind of look like real dorks. Yeah, maybe...
It just doesn't feel like they have any concrete idea for them. Or a idea.
Maybe they're trying to do something with Zayn, and maybe this is the start of that?
Could be. Yeah. Could be. Because this feels kind of... They've blown through this feud after this match. Sami Zayn and Baron Corbin, this was set up last week. There was a tilt-a-whirl head scissors to Corbin. Then he went for Zayn went for a dive, but Corbin gets out of the way, caught Zayn off a Pescado and dropped him on the barricade. Came back from break, Zayn's in a bear hug, fought out of that, made his comeback. Shinsuke Nakamura is shown watching in the back, and then Corbin drives him into the corner. Zayn headbutts him off the turnbuckle, lands on his feet, and then he runs into Corbin and is hit with the End of Days. Corbin wins clean.
It's interesting.
Got his win back.
Yeah, typically for Money in the Bank winners, even heels, often they'll get jobbed out after winning the briefcase. I don't see them doing that with Baron Corbin.
It's amazing when it's a guy that they're clearly high on that they believe wins are better than losses. Then we had the second highlight of Tuesday night programming. Dasha Fuentes. Hey, Shin, let me ask you about Baron Corbin. Shin. I had a really hard time understanding Nakamura during this interview. Harder than usual.
I understood. But were his words effective? That's arguable.
He basically said, Dasha says fans would love to see a one-on-one match with you and Corbin. And Nakamura says Corbin is full of fear of what Nakamura can do, and maybe he's right to be afraid.
See, he said...
Or did I get that wrong?
Yeah. Corbin said he said Corbin is motivated by fear.
Oh, I thought he was full of fear.
Maybe he said that too. I don't know.
Oh.
Well. I think it's so clear that he's reading memorized lines somebody wrote for him, because I don't see him saying these words by himself. I just think it's the wrong way to push him. They
announced the wrap-off for next week, and then it was time for the Money in the Bank ladder match. with Charlotte, Carmella, Becky Lynch, Natalya, and Tamina. Match begins. Everyone goes to the floor minus Carmella, who brings a ladder in and starts climbing, but then all of the women return to stop her. Becky delivers a bunch of Beck-sploders. Tamina grabbed Carmella by the leg, dumps her over the announcer's desk. And then Tamina and Charlotte, they fought with the ladder shut as Becky just ran straight up the ladder and then was dumped off of that. Carmella tipped the ladder with Charlotte and Natalya on it, and then there was a Beck-sploder to Carmella. Tamina then speared Becky, who Tom identified as Naomi before correcting himself. Then they go through a second commercial break. Natalya's climbing the ladder. Charlotte chases up. Becky's up. Tamina's up. On Becky's side, they all fall down as the ladder tips. And then again, Carmella sneaks in and is climbing for the briefcase. All four return, lift the ladder with Carmella on it away from the briefcase. Carmella came back with a high cross off the ladder to Becky and Natalya. Then we have Charlotte climbing. Carmella grabs her leg, and Tamina is underneath the ladder and pushes it upward so they fall off. Tamina super kicks Charlotte, goes to climb on her own. Natalya and Becky return. They slam her off. Natalya hit a Liger bomb to Becky and then applies a sharpshooter to Carmella. Charlotte uses a running boot to Natalya, natural selection to Carmella, and then we see Natalya and Charlotte fight over the barricade into the audience. James Ellsworth then returns, tends to Carmella on the floor, sets up the ladder, and goes to climb, but Becky returns and dumps the ladder over, so we did get the James Ellsworth tease and the spot of him falling, which was him getting crotched on the top turnbuckle, or top rope. So Becky is alone now. Crowd's going crazy as she starts to climb. Carmella pulls her down and in doing so injures the knee of Becky. She fights off Carmella, tries to climb again, and this time Carmella uses a chair to the bad knee and attacks her with it. And then Carmella is all alone, climbs up, and she grabs the briefcase, sitting on top, and wins the Money in the Bank ladder match, which, as this match began, there really was only one person that made the most sense to win it, and I think it was Carmella. It just felt she was so red hot coming off of last week, and the others, I'll say, really cold in comparison, that unless you wanted to just do a surprise for the sake of it, this was the best direction.
Carmella certainly was given the most focus and was the most talked about person, and definitely is the best choice to win. I felt like they were trying to build up Becky a little bit by giving her some promo time, and Becky had, you know, a very kind of different style of delivery, a lot more serious style of delivery that would lead you to think that maybe she had a chance. At least that led me to think so. But I'm glad they gave it to Carmella again. I think by all accounts, this was probably the match that they were intending to have at Money in the Bank, with the finish that they were probably intending to have, but deciding to delay this match for 2 weeks later for TV. And it was certainly better than the first one. And I thought, you know, with this match, they don't take any dangerous risks at all.
No, this was one of the safest ladder matches I can recall.
Biggest bump was Ellsworth falling and crotching himself on the
But the audience was into it.
Yeah.
More power to you.
Again, shows you, you know, I mean, I think, you know, our taste these days will always remember the TLC level of risk as sort of like the barometer of the best types of ladder matches. But that's not to say that this was not an enjoyable match. It was still a very enjoyable match. And I thought they built some great drama with some decent looking spots. It played out really well, and Carmella, I think, is that much bigger of a star.
So that was SmackDown. A pretty good show, I would say. There was a lot on this show when it came to building up Battleground, the ladder match that everything was built around, and again, they got two really great crowds this week in LA and San Diego. I thought that helped the shows. So pretty good episode of SmackDown. We go into Talking Smack, and off the top, Renee and Brian are talking about Carmella's win, and Brian says at least she did it the right way. And then Brian says whenever they ban someone, they always find their way back into the arena, and says maybe we need to have better security. Says how can they get back in? A fan without a ticket can't get in. And Renee says, well, when you're in a work environment where your face is your badge to get backstage, maybe all of security wasn't aware that he had been banned.
No. Good point.
These two were bending over backwards to make sense of this run-in by James Ellsworth, which was not exactly explained at all on the show. It was just, well, he's back.
I like that exercise.
Are there any consequences?
Oh, you're right. He should be fired, really. He should be...
He was banned.
Yeah, he should be... There should be consequences, and I hope they follow up on that. But I think if... I think Talking Smack is great. It's a great forum for Renee and Brian, who are so good at it.
Poke all the holes in their own show.
And to try to fill them.
Kevin Owens then walks onto the set humming John Cena's theme in the middle of Renee and Brian talking about the return of John next week. And Owens just starts chatting. Renee interrupts him, and Owens just cuts him off. Hey, interrupting is rude. That's a thing you do. Renee loves the Battle Royal idea on Independence Day and jokes about Will Smith being in the Battle Royal, which Owens disagrees and says Jeff Goldblum stole that movie. And says last year on July 4th, he got a pie in the face during a food fight. And something then dropped off the screen, which they made fun of. Owens asks, what's going on with all these battles? There's a Battle Royal, there's a Battleground. Didn't even mention the rap battle.
What about all the balls on the other show?
Yeah, well, Daniel Bryan, when stating about the name, says, well, it's better than Great Balls of Fire, which everyone agreed with. Owens says that no less than 1,000 people alerted him to the Ron Burgundy line on Twitter. So Bryan says, well, what does it mean? And Owens thinks for a second before saying, vagina.
No,
and the censor missed it.
He said a whale's vagina. And
and they censored a whale's, but not vagina.
Yeah.
Good timing. Yeah. And
it's tough.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's also the network, but they do rate it PG, don't they? Talking Smack.
Anyway, you can have... Why is a body part such an awful thing to say?
Vagina, vagina, vagina. Just keep saying it.
Like it's... Oh my God, my ears! We just watched a fucking ladder match, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
violence we have quite the threshold for.
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar can put a hole in Randy Orton's head, but God forbid we say a female body part. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Owens claims physical abuse when Bryan touches his shoulders, and then Bryan mocks him for making the rookie mistake of being distracted by theme music when he lost the title to Bill Goldberg back in February. And then he starts yelling at Renee. I can't do a Kevin Owens segment justice, I feel, because so much of it is his tone, it is his sarcasm.
He genuinely looks
so
like
great here.
He genuinely looks like he's having the time of his life.
He is so quick on his feet. Like, he's at a level of very, very few.
Yep.
Owens explains that people that lose don't get more opportunities, or shouldn't get more opportunities in the land of opportunity. Bryan needs to start setting an example for his daughter about, continually losing and still being given do-overs. And then Bryan brings up the Seattle Seahawks, and Owens just gets up. He's like, I'm done. I don't follow sports. Before saying, Boston Bruins. That's my sports knowledge. Cam Neely used to play on them. And then says New York Giants. Renee makes fun of the way he said Bruins, so he comes back, destroys all of her notes, and then dumped all this water on the desk. He also stood on the actual desk and slid backwards, which I highly encourage you to go back and watch, as he does commentary for his actions.
It could have gone really bad.
He could have
smashed
could
through
have
that.
taken a big spill here. This guy was incredible on this segment of Talking Smack.
Yeah, he was great.
Outside of peak John Cena, I don't think there is a better promo in this company than Kevin Owens. And in these segments where he's just playing off of people, I don't think there's anyone better.
It's arguable.
It's arguable. Renee has no idea. First of all, I didn't know how you follow this segment. Like, this was... Kevin Owens should be on last every time he's on Talking Smack because it's unfair to the next guests.
Yeah.
Renee is asking about the Punjabi Prison match because she doesn't seem to have any clue what it is and had to have Bryan explain it. And then Bryan starts talking about when he was calling the CWC and the Singh brothers were the Bollywood boys and then went to NXT and weren't being utilized. They wanted to make an impact, and that's what they're doing now with Jinder. The Usos then came on next to preview their rap battle, which... I don't know about you. They seem to not to be all that into this segment idea for next week.
The Usos, you mean?
Yeah.
The Usos kept trying to I think lower everybody's expectations for their rap battle.
Yeah.
Jimmy kept saying, we're not really rappers. We're more into poetry. So.
But then they did an example, and it was pretty good. Like, they weren't rhyming stuff, but it sounded good.
For the level of rap battles that have occurred in the WWE, I don't think they have too much to worry about.
Like, in front of this audience, there is nothing easier for me to, at least, like, a bad rap will not necessarily be received poorly.
Yeah,
like you can. It's all in the delivery.
They're not even raps.
They're not really.
And like what Kofi did this week, what Cena used to do, they're just like they're just punchlines. You know, they're rhymes. That's all.
I was quite impressed with it because this was the return of Swiss Beats or Sweet Beats, Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
And he did one right off the top of his head.
I don't think it was off the top of his head.
You don't think so?
They definitely planned a lot of this. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
but it was still done very well.
They mentioned that they are fans of Tupac, and then they just wanted to change topics from this rap battle. And they have a strategy for Battleground of just leaving the match. And Bryan says, well, I can't really support that strategy.
Yeah.
Really, this screams for a stipulation.
It really does. I do love that, you know, the Usos, when they usually come on Talking Smack, they bring this such a fun, babyface-like vibe to the show. And they're clearly, like, having so much fun with Bryan, with Renee, that it's hard to dislike them. But here, they twist it, and they, you know, Jimmy starts saying how, hey, Bryan, we got you on our team, right? Great, so listen to our strategy. We're going to leave the ring, and we're going to get counted out. It's a great strategy. And then Bryan shifts from kind of this friendly vibe to being like, you know, I don't know. I like you guys, but I don't really like the strategy. And they introduce a bit of tension that way. What were you checking on your phone?
I just got an email. Wait.
Oh, yeah? From who?
Do you want some breaking news?
Sure.
Let's open this up. I don't quite understand this. Impact Wrestling acquires Global Force Wrestling.
They acquired it? Okay, they bought it.
Yeah.
So Anthem bought it.
I guess so.
So what does that mean?
I don't know. I guess, like, Global Force Wrestling is already front and center. So anyway.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
All right.
Final guest was Carmella, who came on with the briefcase, laughed in Bryan's face, wants an apology, calls herself the first two-time winner. Take that, CM Punk.
Yeah.
And leaves. This was pretty quick.
Yeah. She came across really good, too, you know, like just kind of a cocky celebration. She comes across like a real natural, you know, performing as her character on camera. So
her and Cass, I don't know what the secret is, but they have come into their own simultaneously.
The secret is the secret.
The book?
Yeah.
Maybe Ryback handed it to
Probably
her.
read that. Probably went to a landmark forum or something.
It was quite the week for them. Mm-hmm. So that was Talking Smack. Kevin Owens was awesome. I can't recommend this highly enough. One of the best Talking Smack segments
I thought the whole...
ever. It's arguable.
I thought all of Talking Smack was really good.
It was a good show this week. Yeah. Definitely a fun show.
Mm-hmm.
So where do we go from here, tour guide?
Let's wrap up for our YouTube audience, and we'll go to 205 Live for the download portion of the show.
All right, so go to liveaudiowrestling.com for that. Thank you for tuning in, and we will speak with you in the future, arguably.